going to the prayer for Lama Chuck, the Puri Lane prayer. Hope very good. And this is the very important in Tibetan traditional, and then Lama Chuck is very important for all of us. So then I'm going to the to more explain if you want in after finish this chanting, then okay. Thank you. And I'm going to start right now. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate you. And then everybody please the prayer for him and all sentient beings. Sangye chodan choye chona lae jangjo bado dani kyosat dage junso gyube chonamange dola benje sangye dobar sho sangye chodan choye chona lae jangjo bado dani kyosat dage junso gyube chonamange dola benje sangye dobar Sangye chodan choye chona lae jangjo bado dani kyabse dage junso gyube zonamge dola benje sangye dobar shoy sangye chodan choye chona jangjo bado dani kyabse dage junso gyube zonamge Dola benje sangye dobar shoy Semje damje dewa da dewi gyudan dembra Semje damje dunga da dunga ye gyudan trawarai Semje damje dunga mebe dewa da mindawai Semje damje nyere chada ninda dravi Ta nyom la nebre gyu ji Semje damje dewa na dewe gyu dan dembra gyu Semje damje dunga da dunga ge gyu dan trawarai Semje damje dunga mebe dewa da minda wai gyu Semje damje nyere chada ninda Da nyom la nebre gyu ji semje damje dewa da dewe gyu da dembra gyu ji semje damje dunga da dunga ye gyu da trawarai semje damje dunga mebe dewa da minda wai gyu semje damje nyere chada ninda dravi Da nyom la nebre gyu ji semje damje dewa da dewe gyu da dembra gyu ji semje damje dunga da dunga ye gyu da traware gyu ji semje damje dunga mebe dewa da mendra wa gyu ji semje damje nyere chada ninda dravi Ta nyom la nebre gyu ji semje damje dewa da dewe gyu da dembra gyu ji semje damje dunga da dunga ye gyu da traware gyu ji semje damje dunga mebe dewa da minda wai gyu ji semje damje nyere chada Ninda drawe da nyom la nebre gyu ji Nangye denje drawa njung ga ba me ba ki me che ba me ba da me ba wa me ba dro me ta de me denje me che ba ni je ji de so be sang ye ma nam ye dang ba de lai cha Nindu jiwa sona gunshi nije tenze kaya Rola bimbo jena lamshi nije jude Tundro nzeba Kanda yanda lembe tuna namba gunde nazo ndisu in the Janju Zimbe, Soja Sangye, Gine, Yumde Lai Cha, Che Lui, Tobe, Tawa, Namza, Je, Zabjin, Yache, Gunga, Gundo, Zambo, Zeda, Gune, Drola, Cha, Malu, Simje, Gunje, Gunje, Je, Dide, Bunze, Mise, Jumze, Mona Mali Yanda Kingyube Chumde Gorje Nindre Shenzo Ezo Yunde Gunje Jingyo Dinje Sulje Demba Lamje Zawa Lewa Dune Beba Duma Ye Guba Jimbe Dembra Jingye Lo Lenje Nyebe Tawe Denzan Shindo Nyega Dinje Jingyo Ninja Gundo Nimbo Lembe Lo Yunja Meba Yora Jingya Leso Yowa Chu Jubo Ye Nyudo Jibe Jiwa Tempa Jiya Jizo Ludan Demo Ye Kana Lende Taji Tawa Deba Dimbo Nine Nyebe Zo Taji Tawa Namja Boba Gezo Tada Dubra Jeba La Tado Bada Dembra Jingya Jebe Mingo Dunga Gunja Ida Mizo Sibia Bunzo Nime Rinde Tarbe Dewa Dunye Jimbo Gewra Jingya Namda Samba Deya Dangwa Ye Jenda Jijia Baye Jimbo Tembe Zawa Soso Tawa Nuba Nimbo Jevra Jingya Ranye Zizo Lua Jije Manjo Ndoa Gunjan Denda Tone Ndoa Ndoye Guje Janjo Simjo Jevra Jingya Semza Geja Sirja Nanso Gomba Menai Janjo Mindo Leva Done Yaze Domba Jamba Dabe Lobra Jingya Lobe Yula Yawa Jije Yanda Dela Sulje Joboy Yine Lando Zondo Ndoye Nurdo Gila Kewara Jingya Tumo Lamja Nyudo Joboy Tewa Gunjo Chonjo Doje Kaza Gewe Jungo Damba Dela Nyudo Jobra Jingya Teze Mudo Namye Dube Namda Damze Dombra Sunwa Choma Mebe Ngeba Nyo Sodan Dede Sunwa Jingya Tene Gyude Nyingbo Rene Nena Jije Dene Zomba Tuje Najo Jole Miho Tambe Sunje Ndobra Jingya Yada Lamza Dembe Shinya Zulja Drobe Drona Jade Cheda Nange Wardu Jube Nyawara Jiwa Jingya Labdo Gewa Gundo Yanda Lama Dandame Chige Bela Loje Sada Lamye Yunde Razon Dorje Jange Goba Nyudo Shu. Okay, then I'm a little bit explain, sorry. So all the people thinking like in the meditation, what is the Lama Chucks and kind foods, and then what is the his good, the thinking of helpful also many peoples and many prayer for whole sentient being. These kind of a lot of you have a lot of experience that thinking of like this, and then finally that thinking is total make to the final, and then that the final, then you can this is the going to the make white of the white gold the what's it bright, and then this bright is become the very what's it small the like boy, age of 16 years old. So Tibetan, we say that 16 years old. And then they are physically, it's like just a bright physical, and go to the thinking like that, go to the very west out of the, the ocean. And there's one very place, nice place. Everywhere they say, the food, everything is, they meditate. And that one is a Puri Lane. The Puri Lane, the Buddha Amintabha's, the lane. So so thinking of he's the very laughing and go to the very happily go to the Puri Lane, and they're very happy to that thinking. So many so good friend like that, thinking for like that. And I'm going to the chanting continues. Thank you. Buljon zebe andola mize apadre je lenje tembe chida jiba rindu tado geve dola buja tawo lame tomba jeba mela chaza tebe ombo lena doma leva yonso ngabe jinge dewa jindo ye mola tebe wange jeda nuje Lando nena maria tibe, konde tajia layan deda, konde sogi atoria sozo, dete jabe kore jorai, lege cho sibe yuma, nagia dunga bala mambo, mize cheda chudya kaje, minde dunga nuge nungyo, Weme dage namda ngaro, yelam buba drubya wangbo, tungye ninje demba oba, jiri ziwan yase tuje, kordan jela gwebe solde, pame galba daja namgi, tujo yewe tamja manya, dazan zo laye langwe, Zodo doge zewe ndirje shin dada jingi dusum dan dawe zoni ye gyazo no choji do dum tola dene da chiwe de nyewa na dem ba o ba do me ba sege do nyela so korge ko sum don tonje de Yawa Kordan Jeva La Mivya Rabdo Teba Trabo Hit Naze Dunga Meva Dan Teva Yudan Jeva Mizebe Tembe Shebo Dad Yawe Sebo Ge Zudu Ge Lade Dewa Jindo Doye Lam Jiltawa Jindo Dembala dene dewa jenge jindo rimbo je bema le dewa jimbo rinjambo nombo shada do ikewara ju kema da do zonda dingin zinda mi ba mi chanju ge senda zemi she be boba la soba And then ya toba do meva toba do tomba lana meva oba do meva la soba chojo yawa sedan jewa tamje nyawara jen tewa jembo kalo yanda wa nebra yu tenam ye denje dawa jindo kondo jun Kejere langa zange ge jeram janzo zudro ge tome dondon janjo sembe joba labo je tamje yonzo zoba jebra yuji dabe jendo kene yang zewa shudabe gune lande towa mebe zudro ge zo madabe jendo jin Semje damje ge rang kawa jiltawa jindo chedamba la dene yawe ngab Lang number Dava Lang Gunubra Gurji Choba Medo Jua Deda Nudo Zobra Jevia Gune Taiwe Dre Dundo Yavia Goba Dela Do Dobra Namje Tia Dongje Duje Dongwana Kozo Yaze Korea Oba Megia Lamdo Sawa Dongjo Deda Nije Da Yue Kangwara Marde Nawa Shawa Gyuma Yaze Yeye Mano Lamde Dewa Jindo Yene Dowa Nada Jingia Doa Dingur Jia Deda Vio Gowan Chomato Yawa Damja Duan Yavia Demba Nunda Tuba Na Samba Na Gumba Nambra Da Dubia Denshara Do Dobra Gyuji Dende Yang Dungi Yunden Yedan Mita Wai Gyuji Deltabe Nega Danje Do Wenje Ne Jedawa Yindo Tera Demba Dobra Yawa Damje Do Siba Dadala Nimbo Mebra Donji Darbe Yundenge Yedrabe Samba Gune Lande Chunde Nege Lebras Chundu La Rabdu Juan Jebra Radu Juya Zena Yang Nito Tama Yamago Sudengia Bumbo Tara Jimba Zebe Gun Chanjua Jimbo Gelo Mido Wa Taburu Jaya Kiwa Tamje Do Gune Nyumo Bada Ambra Tamye Jajin Zuljindo Zuljil Dawa Jindo Kundo Chuni Tarjimbe Yela Chunam Chedan de Maleva Mizebe Dembe Zobuson Zoba Tobra Gyuji Rani Gyazua Jindo Jela Dumbala Toba Mebe Boba Namba Daba Dobra Gyuji Jian Kyawa Tamjedo Bon Roala Sobi Dingen Zinge Gonamda Shave Mela Sobi Jenamda Zujugi Yushevala Sobi Umbra Shevana Toba Da Midawa Jen Kyawa Tamje Do Landorgi Nena Randogi Jeni Shera Lajewa Dobra Juji Gune Numo Bada Nambra Changwe Taje Taje Tawa Jeldawa Jindo Mandeva Jenive Shera Sawa Dobra Mado Bada Loba Doba Dan Tezom Ye Samba Yema Dado Maleva Gunu Shera Nyurwa Dobra Gyurji Jenge Tezom Minuve Shera Ye Tidon La Doba Mebe Shera Zamola Dobra Gyurji Dona Jave Shiragi Kendamje Dandavi Shiragi Suragi Tidun Jabal Taugeve Janju Goni Janju Seve Java Damje Tarasumba Shizun Jambe Yang Tabru Deltara Shira Chawa Zawa Nuwa Zaba Gelad Balde de Zun Jamba Dan Loma Seja Badan Kiva Gua Gavi Yela Gavi Sura Tata La Mive Cheba Dan Jamba La Kivya Parado Chimba Dobra Jian Kiwa Damje Do Rangi Dun Zora Jebe Ila Jeba Dan Janju Zebe Choba Lambo Jela Gilu Jumba Mebe Tamje Kani Shenje Dunlo Len Yendo Choge Paro Do Samba Taugewe Janjugi Simge Wone Janju Sembe Choba Tamje Ye Tara Samba Shizun Jire Zewan Chua Tabro Jenyang Kiwa Tamje Do Randa Shenje Dunla Doda Mode Pege Goa Tamje Jombra Jebala Pege Goa Jombra Jebala Tabkiwe Nuwe Gune Chanjo Sebe Joba Tamje Tara Sumba Jizin Samwe Dava Tabra Gigi Yawa Tamje Do Lelo Bambe Sundu Ye Janju Ye Sem Janju Ye Java Yonso Zoba Java La Tambo Do Yeva Ne Gigi Yang Yawa Me Labo Che Sundu Ye Gone Janju Jambo Nyeva Nyame Shagi Yawa Tabra Juji Yawa Tamje Do Janju Zembe Barje Ludan Simge Ne Tamje Jombra Jawal Chene Muba Zamye Lungai Sunye Lunga Tamje Dewa Jenuba Yawala Shaba Mebe Yawa Tabra Juji Yawa Tamje Do Jedan Dewa Chedar Jimbala Chene Muba Zamye Lungai Sunye Chen Muba Zamye Du Mai Be Chua Tamjen Jomra Chevala Chevado Meva Taburu Chea Bajen Jundo Nyawana Kyoba Chevado Tileje Kangen Dua Dan Chamba No Gui No Demba Dia Tongjen Dong Dado De Doma Dado Chea Bajen Jundo Nyawa Cheva Maluba Nyawara Jiwara Kangen Dua Dan Chambra Gui Nawa Temba Dia Gombo Cheva Do Meva Imbra Ngoshini Chuma Maimbe Deva Dembo Giji Dea Dula Dene Kyawa Tamje Do Kyawa Cheva Migi Giwe Shinye Ngunsun Cheva Dan Mitawa Yuch Yen Kyawa Tamje Do Jiden Dan Jiden Le Deve Yunden Tamje Gi Sewa Tewa Jimbo Giwi Shinyi Tsenyi Dan Dembe Jesu Nyeshindo Jesu Zembra Gyuji Jesu Zungwe Chenayang Giwi Shinyi La Mi Chebe Dewa Dembo Duni Gotam Jeni Nyeva Kona Chebra Dewa Dunjundo Nyewana Keji Tangilo Meba Laboji Kaji Zamyang Midoba Maye Giwi Shinyi Ge Damba Dan Jesu Damba Dam Matangwa Meba Dombra Gyuji Te Dun Damje Jildawa Yindo Kondo Chuni Dube Tarjimbran Zebra Gyuji Migewe Shinyi Dan Dibe Drobo Wando Kaji Zamyang Midawa Gyuji Kiwa Tamje Do Lende Lai Chetan Deva Dan Minjun Dan Chanjo Gye Sem Dan Tawa Nambra Dawa Tadawa Kondo Jun Zoa Mebe Nyua Gyumi Jido Dobra Yuji Kiwa Tamje Do Nalida Ngada Ike Gone Gewe Zawa Jingye Jechewa Namji Jende Dan Chanjo Nambra Dawa Kone Gyugyu Je Ola Lama Durjin Zumba Chimbola Suba Cho Chuna Jube Sange Dan Janju Sewa Tamje Dala Kunzu Agelolo Zan Jeje Give Tera Kwa Dama Majibane Tatane Tukondu Monda Jedan Tumu Kong Lidanga Tai Yuguni Diwa Mige Ji Giva Dan Tsemachiba Ngai Giva Dan Tedango Ngai Giva Janju Sebe Lava Danga Dan Sangagi Tamsi Danga Dan Padama Magu Pada Kimbo Dalobe Lama Gu Pada Chua Zama Zumar Chiba Nala Magu Pada Bebe Gendu La Kua Dava Dan Simjana Nubele Giva La Sube Diva Migi was so the king Giwadan, Gido Zoadan, Giwala Shizu Iran Wala Soba. Donna Torigi Tarbengas give a Koadan and so we give you. You don't go to Jiwatan Jalama Durjan the Wajimola Soba, Cho Chuna Jubes and get Tanjo Zawatan Jedan and Dunzuman and get Jangadolo Mishawa, Chinjagan the Bajela, Tojana the Wala, Rubana Baj, Madoma Jana, the Damin Yuala so. Papa Jamba Junugyo Bala Jazalo Jinye Zunda Chojunji Dana, Dusun Shave Ya, Dusun Shave, Dusun Shava Mi, Singawa, Daga Male, Teda Tamja, Lidanga Dai, Tawe Cha, you, Tamuzambo Chive, Molando Dak, Adam J. Gimuzundo, Shinge Dunya Radawai, Yagola Ducha, Talo Gajedana. Dulcedana Dunya Sayena, Sanye Sigena Jubada, Teda Shugena Maleba, Tanje Yadagi Kama, Tedangaba Mise Yazana, Yang la ya zun do gun je ya gun je de ra zun je do sha ba tam je da ge do dang ba zhang dang ba sin yan na dan ju ba du je da ma me je da tu zu da ba na ya de da la ni ju ba yi na za dang ba na da chi ja da chi ma bu ma ra nyam ba ko be ge wa ba be jo gun je ya de da la ni ju ba yi ju ba ga na la me ge je wa de da ya dam je la ya mu Sambo jela debe doda ge ya gula chazal joba ye doja jeda dimong ge ne lidanga da dije ge ya diwa da ge ge wa chi je wa te da tham je da ge so so ja chu ju ya gunda sang ge se ra ya nan da lo da mi lo do gun je so na ka la ya te da gun je shi so da ye na kana chu chen ji den do ba na chan ju ren ba sang ge ma ja ni gu mo te da da ge ta je la ko la la na me ba ko Nangande da biljen de da la, dua gula biljen de weche. Kalba jinge dunye joba ya, nage dalma rajo zoai. Tatawa dan chujin shaba dan, jesu iran kuje zoai. Kewa chungse dage jisaba, tamje dage chanchu chambar ngo. Tebe sangye namda chuchu yin, jiden sana kanshu chungyu. Kaya macho de daram nyurba, samso chanchu rinpa sangye je, chuchu sangye. Jojo kale jinan taye ba teta sangye teta yache yonso ta yoje sangye chancho shiwa chushe yawa dan sangye sangye wena shubha choche sangye kana chingye ba teta tato neme ten yoje doha kunje chuke tunu ne tumra yoje rawan chubar sho chancho chuba kuna dane tache chen doha kunje chira chubar chira kundo chubo yawa na tato dane rato yuwa sho yawa kunje shiso lukyo Sambo Java Yon So So Jojo, Chulin Java Jimmy Yon Daba, Tado Mayi Kime Javash, Laika Dalo Danu Jingia, Chuba da Mi Gananda, Dua Gunja Dana Chitamba, Tamja Gundu Dake Chidento, Dijabaro Jala Rabja, Chanjo Sine, Jamanya, Tivakana, Divan Juvada, Teda Mali Yon So Chamash. Leta nyomo du gila na le, dojen jida ndoa namse yang, chidar kuma chumi chapa jen, nida nanga toba medar, jingi jeda chana chidamba, ngaso dunga rabdo yuar je, doa dala doa kunga je, doa damche lane pimbar, chancho choba yung so so je je, chulin choba simchen dagi chodan tumbar jo, kambo choba dani rabdo jen, maho kalpa kundu chungi je, dagi chodan, tumbar kanche, Teta ni tato ndobar sho, ludanga dan toni singe yang, chuba tata mulam chido che, tala bimba duwe ndobar, sambo chuba rado tingi wa, teta dan tato ndobar sho, teta da ge na imi jo, sange sike kure ngumbo na. Muso tato da ge yawa da, maho kalpa kundu mi kyo wa, teta la yang chuba ya zende, yawa namge tambe chunzen, Chancho Java Kundo Norje, Sambo Java number, Sambo Java number Javaya, Mongolba Kundo Javari, Siva Tamje Kora, Siva Tamje Tuyan Korana, Sona Ishitani, Misenjo, Tata Shirati Namda, Yendo Kunje Misenjum Yoja, Dujatana Dunya Sangeni, Sinda Sangye, Mida Sangena, Sangye Seki Wina Jubat. Chancho choba yonso tache che, teta mali tamche yonso kan, tatsam kila tusum sangye ke, sangye kyazo shinam kyazo, kalwa kyazo choche rabdun jo, sunche la kyazo ndakunge, kyawa kunge la rabdoba, dua kunge samba chichi, sangye sunla tatu jubar ke, tuso shepe kyawa tamche ke, kolo kuna kolo zuna doko ye, teta kya suya mizela, Lui tu ke ta kya ta tu jo, maho kalpa tamchen juba ya, kachi chika ta chen, ta kyan juba ke, kanya kalpa tu zon tsete ta, kachi chacha kine juba che, tu zon shava miye singe ku, teta kachi chila ta ke ta tu teta kine jo la, tuma kyo namta tu kien jo, kanya tu zon shabe kya Kaya dusun dake shingwa, teta tu che tando ngu brando, teta mali chonam tamche tu, yawa dake shinam kola jo, kaya machin chiten domana, teta rinpa sangya kolo ko, nyanga deba rabdo shida tu, kumu kunju tundo taa chiu, kundu nyoye zuru tunan, kune kue tepe tunanda, kundu ente sope tunanda, kundu kyaba chamba dake to, kune kue sonan tunan, Chaba meba gyue ishe doa shirata da dinde doda ki chancho dona yonsu ta cheche yumondana gundo jombarchi legi dona donera cheche yumondana gundo jombarchi duke dona donera cheche sambo shive toni sobraki jina gyazo nambar ta keche sanche gyazo tani nambar no sanchona razo razo so cheche ishi gyazo razo tobrachi Choba gyazo nambar ta keche molam gyazo razo sobrachi sange gyazo razo chu keche kalwa gyazo mikyon chobarki kaya dusun shabe gyawa ye chancho chewe molam chetana sambo chewe chancho sange dewa male dake sobraki gyawa kunje sike do pa kange mene kunjo chanche che kiba teta sombra chewe che gyawa dita tamche radung le danga da igyan namda che choba namda jina yon da da wa zambo kiba chire wa tere da gyan teta sombra kuni ke zambo chewe chire zambo jaba gine molam choba ki wa kalwa kundo mikyo wa tia lan ti chawa te jawa mali sobar ki choba tane che mungyo ke yundana kya tsezo me bash choba tse me bala nene kya teta buba tanje tsar cho namge tete yuwa chizan ba tsinje mali tayan te jam chizan ta kya nyumon chizan le ta nyumon tanjo ba tage molam tayan te zamu kange choche jinan taye ba rinje kinde yawa nalambu rata miye dewa chonan kya jinge dunye kalwa buwai kange ngoye gyalbo dito ne chancho shoke cheso rame shi anje zang tangpa hiwa ne sona dambe chodo dingyor kange sancho molam di tabe dine nga son tamche puan jo dine dropo ngombo puan ye dine dropo ngombo puan ye nawa daye diyan dingyon do teta rewa tamche dewa zo mizo diyan teta lewa kundo zangbo diyan chidan wa teta rembo mido Tijingyo, Tseme Ngabo Dagi Diwana, Kange Mishe Onge Chebada, Tea Zambo Cheba Yonso, Tea Zambo Cheba Dijana, Yodo Mali Yonso Changasha, Ishe Tane Zonda Zenanda, Ronda Kato Nanda Duman, Doda Modi Mombo Timi Doa, Jide Zombo Kuna Chobargyo, Chancho Shiwa Kundo, Chancho Shiwa Kundo Tinyo Do, Soni Senje Penje De Do, Senje Chancho Sanje Colorado Go, Dunade Dan Cheba Tamjet, Gaya Zambo Chive Molang Dia, Sawa Dane Danda Lona Yang, Dia Namba Mimba Sanje Je, Chancho Chola Sunye Maje, Java Baye Chidar Kembada, Gundo Zambo Dia, Dijende, Tida Kunje Jesu Daloche, Yuan Dida Tamche Radung, Tisun Shebe Yawa Tamche Ye, Ngwa Gala Chodo Ngabadi, Rajan Give Zawan Digunya, Zambo Chuche Radu Ngwargi. Dani che tu chen kiwana diba tamche dani chira sudi muso na taye te toni dewa chengi rabdo dewa chengi rabdo dewa chengi shinde rabdo ndo teso nene molam dida kya tamche male daki tamche male ngundo ki warsho teta male daki yonsu kang teta male daki yonsu kang jiden senche pimpa ki kya kyukwa sanchen kawa te pima tamba shindo zile Na daye yayung zondo lunda bayan da ge do jo tene da ge lunda rabdo ne tuba mombo jewa thagi le to ge chojo nam se yang sinjana la bemba mombo yi mombo jewa molam tawai gwa jonse da ge chisab dene doye molam gwa na ge jige tam jen joar jo mombo jewa molam ngwa yi sonam damba ta gandon doye dunga joa na oba mebe ne ra to basho Mola Jalbo Dida Choki Jo, Tayendo Akula Benjeji, Kundo Zambo Gimbe Jundo, Nenso Yuna Mali Tangwara Sho. Sanje Kula Chata Lo, Tanson Dame Dembai, Sanjo Semba Namdaya, Ninde Namda Chata. Ngendo Lani Tongyoje, Ngendo Lani Tongyoje, Toria Lani Tongyoje, Geshe Meba Tengyeba, Sanjo Semla Chata. Semge Wando Nyuwana Dagi Diwa Jigya, Sanye Janga Chinezo, Dagi Deda Shabargi, Dale Nambar Sungangi, Sonam Sone Kebat, Dagi Gunja Sabende, Dala Janjo Mizet, Chojo Dagi Jinazo, Sanye Chowa Kanjo, Sanye Kemba Irawa, Tela Dani Iram, Diwa Damje Shabargi, Sonam Gula Iram. Sangye Gula Chazalo Dani She Chodo Chuju Chunazo Simjen Dalan Saju Dala Nebai Chanju Sewa Chanju Sangye Gewa Guman Chanju Damba Sangye Dedan Jebe Dunjun Soja Gula Mele Chugyo Golo Godozo Chunga Chembo Dain Simje Dunga Tagye Simje Dunga Tagye Sho Kalwa Chawa Samye Chudan Zeje Jungyo Je Dube Dando Jingyo Jebe Sebo Tamje Chunga Gunje Jinda Kanye Zona Jizo Simje Dema Yoba Sangye Na Sangye Namne Sangye Namne Mumen Simje Namla Zamjun Sebe Sole Ando Archo Sobe Sangye Kanjo Kanda Deda Manjebe Deda Jizo Zolo Chanjo Seba Chanjo 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 Seba Chanjo Chanjo Jeba Jingin Paro Jindo Zogen Dodo Sinjen Tagye Moche Tobo Mogen Lame Chanjo Rigyo Mache Bada Minjonda Raje Mache Umaje Amre Mache Umaje Tembe Jene Toba Sangye Danson Chimboda Sinje Mache Soma Kanza Mache Somaje Ama Chuge Chuge Tanze Dage Zembai Ubo Gola Mile Simje Gola Mile Do Sena Mache Chudo Ubo Mache Be Dage Lonje Londo Ubo Tamje Namje Be Chimbe Abaro Chinjo Chule Zewe Chulimji Timje Chule Kemeje Chule Nambra Dada Oze Mebe Chulimji Chule Abaro Chinjo Sayana Chuami Lunge Ganda Mini Zoba Doa Machibi Zebe Abaro Chinjo Tunde Zebe Tundegi Tendo Lale Maji Total Dembe Luzemgi Tunde Abaro Chinjo Yuma Davi Dinzen Na Paondo Dinzen Durjel Davo Dinzen Samde Abaro Chinjo Nambar Davi Angosonda Tuzo Nyamba Nidan Rezo Ngoson Yuai Shara Abaro Chinjo Sangye Gunje Ngabata Oda Zizi Ambrawa Chanjo Simbe Zundegi Aja Samba Zogiri Tedara Jeba Jeje Chamba Tatan Dembai Paro Chindo Zogene Sajo Bola Radon Amorana Dayaya Namo Bakawati Shagya Munaya Tadangadaya Arahadi Samya Sambudaya Tiata Anjid Avar Anjid Denzaya Hara Mide Awaloge de Karakara Maha Samaya Side Barabara Mahamude Mendam Mara Sama Emagam Samaya Bude Mahambude So Om Muye Mahamuye So Om Muni Mahamune So De Give Dajendo Shivu Yune Galden Shivu Gure Mola Galden Chugye Toye Kazan Digini Meva Chugye Seje Tower Sajo Anju Yatan Tojo Ngaya Goban Nebe Sunge Duse Ngoba Towe Yaven Zeba Male Tajin Dine Shive Yuma Galden Gine Yugo Yudo Jamgo Negu Janju Lunda Dobra Show Dine Shive Yuma Galden Gine Yugo Yudo Jamgo Negu Janju Lunda Dobra Show Dine Shive Yuma Galden Gine Yugo Yudo Jamgo Negu Janju Lunda Dobra Show Age Janju Chobala Juwa Namba Zangwai Gewa Gande Doago Janju Chola Jubara Show Chona Guna Ludanza Dunga Neva Jingam Teda Dagi Sonamji Teda Gazo Dobras Teda Goa Jisido Naya Dele Nyaman Roya Lana Mebai Dewa Yumi Jabo Ide Kana Jinyawada Kanda Jinye Yoban Teda Duni Lujena Dijen Dawe Kabash Tawe Nyanda Trotosho Noe Tawe Nyanda Sildosh Chanju Simbe Dinjele Chuo Taye Tawe Nyanda Sildojo Rilge Lome Naza Tela Gazan Dugosho Shama Leye Dombo Basam Shindo Tumbar Basam Shindo Tumbar Siri Ngoba Tata Ngabata, Jezo Kanye Jimba Zigyu, Pema Jezo Selen Sedaki, Peme Nyawe Sajo Tani Nyamga, Subun Deda Rinje Mumboji, Saja Seje Seje Tawajo, Rinjo Joa Namjan Chobai, Jame Kanjo Deshe Kanwajo, Dama Dosi Chunje Chabani, Dene Zonde Mendo Chaban, Penjo Chogi Deva Tian, Dene Zeche Mendo Peor, Cho Rame Medan Jana Chuan, Shagwe Jingyo Lugong Mendo Kunde, Dagi Give Toge, Laye Ludun, Amo Namda Lenje Dage Banish, Jije Dene Shije Midan Katan Chagwe Mize Namda. Kune ke dega desan ke tuzan nyamba degus kendo tene namge gina chana dorje bawa shodo rabdo gawe shugi dedan dane dedan lenje ndo bendo chaba puju dande bawa nyawe menda chiche soba tunju lobo de chiba dije samba semya namge chana bemo towara roda jiba bula rambo chucho ba de Dagi give to ye Dunga Damje Tanda Gawe Shujan. Doa Guni, your Janjo Sebe, Tawa Kingo, Juno Zube, Jamba, Jiba Meva, Juno Zube, Jamba, Jiba Meva, Java Jiji, Kyoge Lage, Jube, Dage Jagi, Bemo Laje, Tuja Lanja, Ula, Mendo, Dume, Toge, Jabe, Kanze, Yuan, Lamo, Donda, Tuyan, Jaldan, Dinde. Denda Done Dani Senya Jojo Domber Dada Dagi Giza Gundo Zalas Janjo Sebe Joba Janjo Sebe Diva Meje Joa Silje Daje Dande Chaba Badan Simje Nyawa Deda Ngoba Gaju Dondo Namni Jilaji Sawe Jidan Dawaj Teme Nyeme Mijen Ida Namni Dor Papa Jiri Zewang Chana Barbe Oge Ida Namni Tinje Tuja Tatu Zawa Longwan Namje Midons Ambe Tatu and Ratus Lamo Yudu Jijan Tuza Lamo Yudu Jijan Noma Name Jabar Jiwo Namni Goda Deva Namni Zedan Komba Namni Chuda Tua Jimbo Tobers Demba Namje Nordos, Yange Yanda Gados, Iche Namja Isos, Demba Bunson Sobras, Semje Neva Jinya, Nudo Nele Danju, Doya Nene Malia, Tadu Jua Mebrasho, Taba Namje Jimmy, Jiwa Namne Dowas, Tume Nane Tudes, Sene Bunzo Ninju, Rombo Dani Damjela, Chonam Tamje Dewas. Kange Dundo Roja, Deva Mingo Ruj, Road Rodan Rujan Jubana, Yila Samba Ruju, Chuyong also the Jen, Yendan the Jen Kawaras, Yangan Yanda Jambana, Rumbo Tata Tenjuan, Chunga de Son Jimeso, Naminga de la Tor, Goso la Me Yamgao, Chivaga Bongo, Yellow New Sierra. Lada Sua Jabashu, Mida Gule Tavada, Tada Shera Zeta Jaba Punzo, Tado Sera Tambarajo, Tamje Namkan Zejendo, Lonjo Java Meva, Jamba Meje Sememo, Rawa Dini Java, Semje Zeze Chundo, Teda Zeze Jambo, Kado Denza, Kado Janka Sune, Zuzan Punzo Sunju, Jida Bime Jinya. Teda Yeva Ninja, Marana Ne Todo, Mayada Yan Jomba, Age Sonam Di, Semja Damja Malio, Diva Damja Bani, Tado Gewa Jowas, Semja Namna Janjo Senda Mendas, Janjo Jola Joa, Sanye Namni Yonsod, Duge Lena Bons, Semja Dida Tamjan, Sayam Bamer Wars, Tado Dedan. Songyurji Chivian Dayan Damanyu, Chivian Dayan Damanyu, Pasan Shinje Yavad, Sanye Dani Sanye, Chunyan Dobe Gawa, Chonam Damje Gawa, 탐제 dünya 사지 사마라소 메바 라데 더냐 벤드 라제 잠보 니주 고게 교고 용고 장조세 마모 랑게 라베 사단 옌바 제베 준교 류정 군제 사단 신다 제 담제 남가레 장 추게 김에 제바 도바 대다다도 상게 상게 세단 챙겨 Chebe dine tae, rea lana chobar, laya duso chambar, lodo punson chobar, yalbo chuje jildan, jidan da yan darbar, menan tudan demban, sangal de zon rubar, kando sibo laso, nije sindan denju, semje gayan duman, jidan nyeba mingyur, gaya ime deman, zola kana loba, kato ki yalani, kato gindu duwa, gindu duyan duwa, aba nebe gelon, emba da yan duwa, yamba damje wani, semne le ru gunju, gelon mana genye, tada neba bomba, dije rado juwa, chulden nyamba menju, chulden zawe inju, tado diwa zejesh, Dega da yang tunju, Dega dujo minga, Kewa da ne gunju, Sonyon da yang toba, Yuni yongsu taba, Chona yongsu kangwa, Meso dunga minju, Kawa jeba lawe, Laye labe luki, Teda sanje nyudo, Simje gunje lema, Sanje tamje chuje, Sanje sewa sanje dewa samye, Tado deda dengyo, Tanjo Samba Namjin, Rodon Dula Gundu, Gumbo Ine Kangom, Semje Namla Denjur, Daja Dijin Sayena, Inde Namjan Denjur, Dajan Jaya Gadi, Saragawa Tober, Tadu Seravatemba, Rado Jua Tober, Dane Kaze Gini, Yamdal Denjin Tower, Seragundo Ene, Punzon Zeva, Punzon Demba Dober, Kanze Tawan Dober, Chunze Dewa Mena, Gumbo and Jaya Dingi, Game Bayan Dober, Sanju Choju Namge Tado, Simje Gunda Rubi, Children Jaya Chenzo, Dagi Choba Dender, Chisi Namka Neba, Roa Chisi Ningu, Tisi Dani Ningu, Doye Dunga Never, Chisi Namka Neba, Doa Jisi Ningu, Tisi Dani Ningu, Doye Dunga Sawash, Tisi Namka Neba, Tisi Dani Ningu, Doye Dunga, Tisi Namka Neba, Doa Jisi Ningu, Tisi Dani Ningu, Doye Dunga Sawash, Doye Dunga Ganjung, Teda Damje, Teda Gunjan the Menjur, Simje Janjo Simbe Gindui, Rodon Tula Dendu, Doye Dunga Menju, Dewa Tamje Joy, Temba Nida Gurde, Jede Yere Ninju, Gange Denje Denju, Gaje Nila Jang, Gange Denje Loje, Jambe Yang La Chaza, Gange Denje Dandel, Yewe Shala Chaza, Janjo Sembe Jubale, Mo Jejawi, Liu de Juba. Okay, so I'm almost done, and then I'm going to the dedication. So these we can then doing the prayer and the dedication to the Lama Chuck born in the Puri line, and then very soon get the enlightenment like that. Oh, Tanjo Senjo Rimbo Che Makia Bana Yingyu Jewa Nyamba Meva Kone Kondo Bewara Sho Tonye Tawa Rimbo Che Makia Bana Yingyu Jewa Nyamba Meva Kone Kondo Bewara Sho Chate Wadan Chujin Shabada Jezo Yera Kushin Sowai Gewa Junze Dagi Jiza Tamje Zobe Janju Chembro Jamba Bowe Jindara Kimba Kundo Zambo Tian Tije 대다 군제 저소 달라지 여원 대다 담제 라도에 뭐 대선 세배 여와 담제 오 강라 저도 ngaba 다진 계획 자원디고 상보 주제 라도 ng오라이게 자자워더 주진 샤바 저소 예랑 군제소와 여와 중세 다게 제자 담제 소배 장주 첨부 가레라위 고외 진강 벤다 대와 말렌조에 제레 저와 덴덴 야조 자베시데 버도 덴유로지 포마 심제 담제 대당 덴유로지 만도 담제 더도 동와 장조 셈바 권나 수주 대다 군예 몰랑 중유로지 Bardo nawa shawa yumada yaze ye mano lamde dewa jendo yine dowa mada jinge dowa dinguru ji Bardo nawa shawa yumada yaze ye mano lamde dewa jendo yine dowa mada jinge dowa dinguru ji Bardo nawa shawa yumada yaze ye mano lamde Dewa jendo yine dowa, mada jingi dowa dengiro ji, semje neba jingi wa nyudo nele dengyo, doye nene mali wa dado jungwa mebara sho, laba sunde ngurmin zimbayi, dube soye nendere yungwa, dado shedo jawe side, Tuden chocho yebe tashi sho, minyo lombo kuye tashi, yala tuju sungye tashi, tate time tuge tashi, yawe kusung tuge tashi sho. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Chuck's brother, older brother. I was his only sibling. Our mother was 19 when she had me, and soon after, at 24, Chuck was born. Lama Chuck was named after our beloved grandfather, Charles Williams. I was a troublesome teenager. I stole my parents' car. Neighbors and teachers would call to complain about me, and our parents didn't want to deal with a soon-to-be teenager, so they hit when Chuck was due to enroll in Shawnee Mission East. They hit him with a brick wall and told him they were enrolling him in military school. I always believed that he paid the sins of his older brother. Lama Chuck earned his psychology degree from the University of Missouri at Kansas City. Soon after, he became a professional close-up magician. His first public performance was at Pooch's Coffee House in Kansas City. The entire family attended the event. During one of his acts, he asked for 3 volunteers, 2 males and 1 female. He got the 2 males, but he stepped off the stage and dragged our mom to the front. Lama Chuck rolled up 2 scarves, stuffed each end down our mother's blouse, and announced to the audience that each male volunteer would grab the exposed end of the scarf, and if the trick worked, the American flag would appear knotted between the 2 scarves. The audience and Chuck counted 1, 2, 3. The volunteers pulled and out popped a circus-sized brazier. And we laughed and laughed, including my mother. My brother and his wife, Mary, met at the Gillis Home for Boys. Mary was the art director. They were married 45 years. Mary graduated from the Art Institute with a degree. Later, Lama Chuck and Mary founded Stanford Productions, an event planning business. One Saturday night, they were short on help. It was a Las Vegas casino party. I stayed all evening to help and observe Chuck and Mary as consummate professionals. Lama Chuck and Mary founded the Rime Center and taught Buddhism for more than 20 years. He was bold and had a great sense of humor and an unforgettable smile. He taught us every morning. He taught us that every morning is a miracle.
So it must have been about 2003 or 2004, I think. Lama Chuck called me and asked me if I would give him a reference to the FBI. I think it was probably for credentials to go up to Leavenworth. So I said, yeah, sure. So a couple of days later, the FBI shows up in my office at KU Med, very earnest looking young man, just like you see on TV, in a black suit, black wingtips, white shirt, rep tie, very short hair. So he sits down and he has a little notebook that he's prepared to write in. He leans into me and says, "Did you know that Lama Chuck's real name is Charles?" And I'm thinking, is this a trick question? And I'm thinking, okay, now be cool, because I have a mouth on me and sometimes it gets me into trouble, and this is not the time to do this. So I said, as unsarcastically as I could, well, I think that one can normally assume that if someone is called Chuck, that their real name could be Charles, but I don't know this for a fact. He wrote all this down. Then he says, he asks me did I know that Lama, Chuck, and Mary had recently been out of the country? And I said, yes. He said, did I know where they went? And I said, I think it was Italy. And he said, why did they go there? And I said, well, vacation. I think they went to visit Mary's sister. And he said, and he wrote all this down. And then he stood up and said, well, thank you very much. And he left. And I went, what just happened here? So I called Lama Chuck and said, okay, the FBI just left. And he said, really, what did they ask you? I said, well, they wanted to know if I knew that your real name was Charles. He says, really? I said, yeah. And I told him the rest. And I said, you know, you must be really squeaky clean if that's the best they could do. So we laughed about that a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew. I've known Chuck since 1989 when we first began work on the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council, and I was blessed to participate in many ceremonies and many occasions, and he was always, in a word, a very devout person, a very kind person, a very compassionate person, a very positive person. And I know that he was, as I said, he was very compassionate. He visited my wife on the occasion of a very important council dinner in 2007. He took the time out from that busy occasion to come and visit my wife at the hospital, where she had just had a heart attack. And I really appreciated that, and I appreciated all that he did. And it was a blessing. It was a blessing to know him. I never knew him as a stand-up comedian, but the story I just heard is definitely Lama Chuck. But I also am sure it would have been a positive experience if I did know him as a magician and as a stand-up comedian. It was a blessing to know him and one I will always carry with me. Thank you very much, Chuck. God bless you. Sat Nam.
Thank you.
I think the one thing I want to say is that I know the Rime Center well, and I've known Lama Chuck for a long time. And I am completely unworried about his future. That man created so much Gewa during his life. When you look at what the Rime Center has become and the number of people and practices that have been done as a direct result of his activities, you realize just how much Gewa he has created in his mandala. As such, I have absolutely no concerns whatsoever about his rebirth. I'm sure he's going to be just fine.
So hi, everybody. First, I want to thank Rinpoche for those wonderful prayers and for the 49 days of practice. It's good to see everybody. Thank you, Lama Matt and Gabi, for continuing Lama Chuck's work. And just want to say some of the things that meant so much to Lama Chuck. He struggled with his Dharma talks every Sunday, but they meant so much for him to be able to say something important. He struggled with the articles for the Kansas City Star, but you know, he worked really hard at those things, but they were so important to him. He loved to do weddings and funerals at the Rime Center. His heart was in his prison outreach. He loved those prisoners with every part of him. He got so many sponsors for Tibetan refugees. And not only that, he encouraged and brought together a community of people who went out and did so many things in the community. The homeless outreach, the World Peace Celebration, where everybody worked together to have this incredible event on the New Year's Eve that brought in the new year, and we all practiced for peace in the world. I used to sit in the back of the Rime Center every Sunday and every event. I sat there because I just loved to look at it all and take it all in. It was like a big mandala of people meditating and practicing in goodness and compassion. It was just a place to be, feel safe in and to feel good in. And I was blessed. I have the best karma in the world to have found Lama Chuck and to have gone on that journey with him. We met the most incredible people, all the Dharma practitioners that came in the Rime Center, and the most incredible wisdom teachers that a person could ever hope to find. When we had Orjin Kunsum Lingpa come to Kansas City, and he said, I want you to be a Lama. He said that to Chuck. Chuck couldn't believe it. It took his breath away. But he took that, and it meant so much to him, and it was so special to him, that, and his mission of Rime, and to say that whatever path you feel connected to, I want you to feel at home here. I want you to find place, a teacher, a path. He was so deeply connected to the Buddhist teaching. It did so much for him. If you had known him before he found Buddhism and met him after, it's almost incredible difference. It meant so much to him. And he always said that the more he taught and the more he read and the more the teachers that he met and the more work he did, he got the benefit from it. He felt like, you know, he benefited so much. So I just wanted you all to know that in his last few months, the prayers and the words that people sent touched him so much, and they meant so much to him. So I want to thank everybody again for all they have done. And it's been such a comfort to me and my kids to hear that. So thank you again, everybody. And this is my son, Matthew, here. I couldn't have gone through the last few months without him. He was just the most incredible blessing. This is my grandson, Quest. He's the apple of my eye, as well as my other grandson, who's somewhere else, but he's here. And this is Laurie. She's my communicator. She's the one that has kept in contact with everybody. And so I am totally blessed to have these wonderful kids. Continue on with the Rime, Matt. You're doing a great job.
Hey,
oh, do you want to say something?
There's the other one.
Oh, this is wrong. Do you want to say anything, Laura?
Oh, I'll share something short. Thank you all for coming together for this beautiful prayer. My father always encouraged me to do things that I loved, and things that I loved were theater and musical theater. And the very first musical I was ever in, he was in it with me, and it was called Here's Love. And the very first Broadway show I ever saw, he took me to, and it had a song he cherished called 525,600 Minutes. And he played it at a Dharma talk at the Rime Center. And it's about embracing every moment of your life and measuring your life in love. And the way he supported, fostered, and encouraged love, I think his life was very full. So thank you again.
So I had a different experience because I didn't see him as Lama Chuck. He was just my dad. So I just remember all the fun we had. And I remember a few things that the Buddhist religion taught me was he had a monk come live with us. And I guess he was this really special monk. He lived in a cave and meditated for like 20 years. And I was a little brat teenage kid. And so I thought, well, what could you possibly learn from life living in a cave for 20 years? And so my parents said, well, why don't you go talk to him and ask him some questions? And so I thought I was pretty smart aleck, and I had a question he could never answer. And so I said, oh, well, if you're so smart, what's the meaning of life? And he said, it's whatever you want it to be. And that really stuck with me and changed my life. And you know, I want to be like my dad because he helped so many people.
In her letter, she said, in 1994, I was invited by Dr. Vern Barnett to attend monthly meetings of the Kansas City Interfaith Council as a member of the Vedanta Society. It was there at monthly meetings that I met Chuck Stanford. Then in 1998, when Lama Chuck arrived at one of our meetings, his face told me that something wonderful had happened to him. His face was full of light. Upon learning that he had just returned from India for an important event, I thought of the Vedanta Upanishad that describes how a guru, an enlightened teacher, said of his disciple, Satyakama, your face shines like the knower of Brahman, God. After the meeting, I congratulated Chuck, now Lama Chuck, and said to him, your face tells me you had a very high experience. Then, exhibiting total lack of ego, another sign of a highly spiritual soul, he thanked me and remarked, it's probably just because I quit my day job. In Kansas City, the Kansas City Interfaith Council was reorganized in 2005, and there I began to see the whirlwind of energy Lama Chuck expended in the work of the council. He worked with his full heart. It was he who organized and motivated the team of volunteers who called on possible donors to sponsor the first Table of Faith luncheon, which was held at the Mulebach Hotel in November. That first year, due greatly to Lama Chuck's effort, we had 650 guests and raised a good sum of money for the council. It was a blessing to know Lama Chuck. Sincerely, Linda Prue, also known as Uma.
So I just wanted to share a little bit about some of his work with the prison outreach. Most people know about this, but I got to see it up close. I would meet him out there in the prison and go in with him. And he kind of showed me the ropes before he then handed over the responsibility to coordinate that prison outreach. I'm happy to say it's still going strong. We still visit, and we've recently been back in. And I'm always just amazed at what he created there. The list of holiday cards that are sent out every year. I keep that list that he handed off to me, which is a large spreadsheet that, and the men and women who are residents of different prisons around the US get, you know, some years 5 or 6 cards from people encouraging them. Right now we have almost 70 or more on the list that are continuing to get cards. And just a few months ago, you know, we continued to get letters in, and we sent a number of Basics of Buddhism books to a prison in Texas, and they're all over really in the US. They've found their way into so many different facilities that house these residents in prisons. And it's just amazing that these things are created. And I can't tell you how many letters I get to read from prisoners that will say things like, you know, I wanted to create a group and practice in here. And then, oh my gosh, I discovered this book that has this 12-week course, and he created it so wisely to be this self-study course, which is perfect for folks that don't have people from the outside coming in regularly, or don't have other access to learning about Buddhism in such a fundamental way as this sort of 12-week guided course. So those are a few of the things I wanted to share. And he would always share a very touching story about an inmate that had received cards from our outreach, and how he saw this kind of tough guy, you know, almost break into tears that he had never received a card before. So I think the work that he's created still continues in so many different ways, but I just wanted to share a little bit about how it continues in the prisons. And I probably see it more than anybody, how much his effect is magnified there.
Thank you so much. I just want to join everyone that I've heard over the last few weeks say similar things. Lama Chuck's legacy is so far-reaching. There have been so many people that I've heard talk about how Lama Chuck changed their lives. And I can say that with all sincerity and full-heartedness, that I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing right now if it were not for Lama Chuck, and for the way that he came into my life so gently and so compassionately and also so wisely. And I so enjoyed listening to some of the stories that people have shared. And I want to give a special thank you to Mary. Mary, your presence and your work in the Rime Center also made such an impression in all of our lives. And having both you and Lama Chuck be our spiritual leaders and really our parental figures in the Rime Center, it was such a gift. And it was because of you and Lama Chuck that I was able to make a change in my personal life and my path. And so every time now that I visit patients in the hospital, I take a little bit of you, Mary, and Lama Chuck with me, and that means the world. So thank you, and love you very much, and so grateful for you and for Lama Chuck.
I do want to just take an opportunity to also piggyback on Sergio's statement, that how grateful I am of Mary as well. We called her Mother Mary because in a sense she was, you know, our adoptive mother for our chosen family that we have here at the Rime Center. And it's one of those wonderful connections that I think Lama Chuck allowed us or manifested. And seeing with or reflecting on the passing of Lama Chuck, you know, one thing that really comes to my mind is just gratitude that I have for him and Mary for creating the Rime Center, but also, as many people talked about, introducing us to just amazing teachers. You know, I try to think about how lucky we are that we've had these opportunities to meet teachers like Kunsum Lingpa, Wangdor Rinpoche, you know, that there are students of Buddhism that I meet from all over the world that know these names, you know, and here we are, this little Dharma center in the middle of America. You know, it's such a fortunate positive karma that we've had generated due to the efforts of Lama Chuck. And I think when we think about just the greatness of the teachers that we meet, especially in Buddhism, they always talk, there's these lineage prayers that talk about the greatness of the teachers. And many times we see these teachers as maybe ordinary people, and we think, oh, you know, this person's just like me. Yet when you then reflect on their life and you see just the amount of positive change that they've created in Kansas City, in the Midwest, that really demonstrates the greatness of that teacher, the legacy that they leave behind. And it's a legacy that I now get to try to maintain and move forward. And Lama Chuck very much modeled what a spiritual teacher should be here in Kansas City. And I'm just so grateful to be able to have him as that mentor, and make me one of, you know, the person I am today, very much due to Lama Chuck and Mary. So again, I am very much grateful for them and their efforts. So thank you, Mary, Lauren, and Matthew. Thank you for sharing your father with us. You know, he was very dear to us as well. So he is definitely missed.
Myself. I'm Mary and Chuck and Lauren, and I don't know your brother's name. I didn't get that. I didn't catch it. I offer my heartfelt condolences. I got to meet your dad when I moved to Kansas City. I am extremely grateful to him and Lama Matt and my Dharma brothers and sisters in Kansas City to have created a center that when I relocated from New York and DC, to be able to hang my hat. And I know that that's your dad, your husband and your dad's legacy. One thing him and I shared, that we come from like a Jewish tradition, and he told me when I moved here, he told me about the Brooklyn babka, because I'm from Brooklyn, and I always remembered where to get it. So I did have an opportunity to send that to him in the last couple of months. But just being able to have a center here, you know, where I came with not knowing many people was and continues to be very gracious. And you know, I just want you to know that I'm greatly appreciative of everybody. And may you, and Lauren, I did want to share something since you mentioned musical theater. Stephen Sondheim just died. So this is I don't know how appropriate this is to say in this moment, but here is your dad's 49th day in the Bardo, and I would like to think that he's greeting him to the Pure Land.
So Lama Chuck is passed away, sorry. So in his advices right now, he has used, so he's doing a lot of the good creative, good activities and very positive. And these kind of the advice we can keep in the continuous in the future. So, and then we have extra, like a, ability or extra responsibility. For the example, Dalai Lama said that when his teacher is passed away, and then he feel that his teacher is look like the backside, just a very big mountain is lost like that. But then he said that he want to the extra, responsibility to the for and how to the practice to the his good advice like that. So Lama Chuck is such a very good person. So he mentioned to hear, so that's why good advice to the continuous we can take in the future and very, very good in the future. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
So I was just going to say thank you all for joining us. So again, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.